James is having gingerbread waffle with strawberries, mandarin, and mango. Should be great. And it's from that mix. And he's going to be talking about Viola Desmond's Canada by Graham Reynolds, Policing the Police 2020. I'm going to be talking about God's Country first, which got the top of the stack rating. It was an awesome movie. The Northman, Get Smart. That's the first half of season 1. The Accountant, My Life is Murder. I think that was season 3 or series 3. And
is
Beast.
That the one with Xena in it?
Yeah, it was.
There we go.
That's
with
with Lucy Lawless.
Lucy
it's very good.
There we go. Quite the name. I wonder if that's a real name.
I don't know. I doubt it, but it's a great name.
Yeah, exactly right.
So
alliterative, like Ronald Reagan, Woodrow Wilson. She should be president of the United States.
This movie has something to do with what James will be talking about, and it's definitely, everyone needs to watch this movie. It got top of the stack rating from me for a reason. It is very, very much worth watching. And I mean, it was made in 2022, so it says 2022, 2023 here, so very recent. And it came from the Hayes Public Library.
Thank you, Hayes.
Thank you, Hayes. We've gotten a lot of good stuff over the years from the Hayes Public Library, and it's got to be about as big as my porch, maybe. I mean, there's not very many people in Hayes.
I'm pretty sure it isn't over 1,000 people, so it's 1/100th, less than 1/100th of Lethbridge's population, but per capita. It's got to have tons better library.
But
and we're a university and a college community here. Wow. Anyway, sorry.
But this, a lot of people could relate to the main character, the protagonist in this story. It's something that James and I have talked about when he worries about moving to the country and being treated like an outsider and having hunters on our land and shooting guns and not feeling safe or whatever, right? So anyway,
Carole King went through that when she hit Idaho in the 70s. Nasty people.
Anyway, everyone has to watch this. Borrow it. The Northman. This was awesome. There's a lot of blood. It's not the kind of movie that I would normally watch, and not the kind of movie that I would normally expect to give somewhere near the top of the stack rating to it. Although there were some, I mean, Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, Bjork, Willem Dafoe.
Bjork is in it.
Awesome.
So this is about the Vikings, right? So it'd be some of her ancestors.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that was Bjork until. Thank you for putting that on the cover, because I honestly didn't see it until now. I'm like, oh yeah, there she is, right? It didn't occur to me. Anyway, a lot of fun. I don't usually like things that seem historical.
Who does?
Yeah. And I don't usually like things that are raw.
Violent. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, lots of blood, lots of gore, lots of violence.
Well, I think it's fairly true to reality.
But
right?
I think it probably was true to reality back then. I think this was a violent period in the Viking history.
The Vikings were the ones that made it.
So, whatever.
Particularly violent.
I think you have to have the violence in there if you're going to.
Europe was caught in a squeeze between the Vikings and the just as violent Muslims to the south, Arabs to the south.
Yeah. So
I'm not picking on the Arabs and singling them out. There were some very white people being very nasty up in the north.
Yeah.
And Europe, particularly Western Europe, suffered miserably.
Anyway, Get Smart Series 1. This is the first half, and it's funny because there's I think it was the second disc, there's an episode that was called Weekend Vampire, and I thought, I wonder if Vampire Weekend got their name, they just, from that, because who doesn't love Get Smart? It's funny. That my only, when I was young, I thought, why is it so short? And that's what I still think. Why is it so short? Every episode.
It should have been an hour-long program instead of half an hour or 22 minutes.
But there's some good jokes in there. Johnny Carson was in an episode.
And he pulled it off, you were saying.
Sure, yeah, he did great. Like, my favorite joke in this was about a suitcase. It was awesome. But I'm not going to give it away. You'll hear it and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's so good. Just watch it. It's worth watching. The Accountant. It's an interesting story about autistic people. And it's not what you'd expect. It's not all warm and feel good, but it's interesting. So, My Life is Murder Series 3. James likes this more than I do. I love seeing Lucy Lawless. She's gotten bigger, she's gotten older, and somehow she's also gotten more beautiful. I don't know where it's going to stop. She's always been so lovely, and here she is, lovely still.
It's been decades, hasn't it?
Yeah.
90s maybe?
And
amazing.
This series, James likes it because of the color. There's a lot of color in here, and there's a lot of beautiful Australian scenery. You get a lot of ocean views and stuff like that. So
a lot of people
it's nice
forget
to have
that
on
about
in the
Australia.
background while you're doing whatever.
They think about the desert and stuff like that.
And this one, Beast, even though it stars Idris Elba, or Idris, I don't know how to say his name.
He's a pretty good actor.
Yeah, he is. And very handsome and everything. So no wonder he's really popular. But not just with us, with everyone, I think. But this movie really isn't that good. It's a story, man against beast sort of thing. But they don't do it, he has some hand-to-hand combat with a lion. Which, how does that make sense? He's telling his daughters, no, we're going to die if we stay here, so I got to do this. And his daughters are like, what? No, don't go. And it's like, yeah, don't go. What, you're thinking of doing hand-to-hand combat with a lion? Anyway, so it's kind of ridiculous, the story. It comes to the point where he's having to actually fight the lion. But he's not a bad guy, He's not presented as such. He's only doing this because he has to save his family. Because this lion is relentless. It keeps coming. And even though it's killed many, many people, it's still going after his family. And they have some sort of, the lion has a vendetta against him or something. Anyway. It starts out, a member of his family is protects wildlife. He's an anti-poacher kind of person, right? And so you don't dislike him when it comes through the story, when it comes to the point where he's fighting the lion. Anyway, it's kind of ridiculous. There's a lot of action, and I have to admit the scenes with the lion fighting, it looks authentic and it looks good, right? As much as it's violent and whatever. But as a movie, there's nothing there. It's just, fighting a lion, whatever. Lion keeps coming, whatever. Who cares? Bottom of the stack. So you go ahead and talk about Viola Desmond's Canada, because I want to hear about it.
First, I want to ask you, this is the same recipe as yesterday?
Yes.
No.
What?
I want to review yesterday and also review today, preview the rest of breakfast. Hopefully you don't think any idea that Pauline has when it comes to food.
No, we were given this
else.
for free. So I like to try out these things that we're given for free. And James says this is the best waffle he's ever had, made by this.
I've got to go further and say I never could have imagined a waffle could taste this good.
Yeah. So, but you'll have to oil your waffle iron well, because this mix contains sugar, because it's a cookie mix, and so it'll be more likely to stick to the waffle iron. But I didn't have one waffle fall apart. It all worked out perfectly.
Or nothing got burned or
Yeah.
anything like that. So this is awesome. So just in case you think that any idea that Pauline might have, food or otherwise, is flaky, this ain't flaky, okay? It's original, it's creative.
No,
that's
you
what
can-
real creativity is about, is not flakiness. It's stuff that actually works,
Yeah.
not something that's
Like
original
a
that actually
woman
works.
before me, I got that from the Salvation Army for free, and I mean, they're giving it away probably because it's Christmas, and how could they sell it at Superstore? I guess it came from Superstore. But I would have bought it if you put it on sale, something like that. Like the person behind me had asked or ahead of me had asked, do you have any flour? And she was like, no. And I thought, well, what are you using your flour for? Like if you're making waffles or something, like a lot of people wouldn't get this because they think, well, I don't want to heat up my house making cookies when it's getting to be summer or whatever. Well, you can plug your waffle iron in outside if you really worry about heating up the inside. And I mean, I set up an outdoor kitchen in the summer. I don't know why everyone doesn't down here.
See how responsible she is when it comes to the environment? Because we don't use air conditioning.
No. So, I mean, the heat just keeps building.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, if you see a box of cookie mix or whatever, or cake mix or something, it works out for waffles. You just don't follow the directions for how much water or whatever to add. Just go by feel. Look at the batter and go, yeah, that looks about right, and that's it. It works out really well.
So I had to mention that
Yeah.
Pauline introduced it to you yesterday,
Yeah.
but I was flapping my gums. I try to have something in my brain motoring my gums when I'm flapping them. But Pauline didn't have anything to review, I don't think, yesterday, so I didn't have a chance to. I don't like reviewing the same time that I'm flapping my gums eating. So I didn't have a chance to even eat this stuff. It smelled good. So I figured that I'd mention that today because I've had time to eat it. I've gone through almost half of it. I have the waffles.
Oh, and
the sauce.
that box makes 4 waffles. No problem.
Yeah.
So enough to feed your family. Yeah.
So now we'll launch into.
Viola Desmond.
Well, actually, we're going to launch into policing the police because of what is in the news.
Oh.
So it's been in the news, and you folks out there, all 1.5 of you, that I think Pauline has a lot more people not watching, but there might be the occasional nifty shifty lefty watching, and all 1.5 of you that actually aren't into just listening to echo chamber. You know, you should be noticing, if you're from Canada, that the last half year or so, 8 cops have been killed by criminals who are maybe people who are sick, according to what's happening here. At least if you're a person of color. It's a health issue, I guess, if you're violent. Now, of course, if a cop is violent, is that a health issue too? Maybe someone should have a little talk with Derek Chauvin. Hey, dude, you suffering from intergenerational trauma? You know, like, what do you say to Joseph Stalin? Are you suffering from You know, he actually did suffer from intergenerational trauma. He was seriously abused along with his mom by his dad. I think Hitler went through the same syndrome. Hey, dude, don't kill those Jews, man. Let's talk it over, okay? Your dad beat on you, right? Yeah, it's just a health issue here, dude. Let's have a little chat. Come on now. let's have a little break here, you know, mental health break. Oh, you killed that Jew while I was flapping my gums. Don't do that, dude. So last night, extremely eastern Ontario, from what I can gather, must be almost on the Quebec border. One cop dead. I don't know how he was killed, presumably gunshot. 2 are in hospital recovering. They captured, the cops were so nice, they captured the idiot who did it, or the alleged shooter or killer. You know, like when this George Floyd, Jason Blake, Breonna Taylor stuff really started to hammer in 2020, I'm going, man, oh man, it's, you know, Trump was saying it's a war on cops. It's really a witch hunt on cops. And for what's happening, it looks like it's close to open season on cops. You'll notice the guy was, I don't know whether he was shot by the cops, the guy was captured, we'll see. We didn't mention on the CBC. But, you know, traditional practice was, and I don't have too much trouble with it, that guy who killed the cop would have gone down in a hail of bullets. Because he went after, he got 3 of them. What? And then they capture him alive. You see how that's
when I
open
was
season
younger,
on cops? Cops are going, oh man, oh man.
I used to think, oh, they shouldn't shoot them, they should capture them alive. Well,
and suffer more deaths?
When it comes down to it, what should the police have to deal with? Should they have to put their lives at risk any more than they already do?
Now, there are more dangerous occupations. You've worked in
I know,
as an arborist.
But still,
yeah.
it's not a great job for, you know, it's not like sitting around writing a novel or something, where you might get some carpal tunnel or paper cuts or something like that. So,
or like Ernest Hemingway, you might get terminal depression. I don't know, this tortured, I'm just being ironic, you know, like this tortured artist thing. I'm a novelist, and man, oh man, I'm cutting edge. I'm really, really risking, you're risking nothing. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, well, anyway, doesn't matter, you go ahead. I shouldn't interrupt you, this is your part of the show. No,
it's important to get talking points. I actually believe in conversations.
Okay.
Not for the typical nifty, shifty lefty who's always saying, gotta have a conversation about this. It's a two-sided process. The conversation is A, condemnation. B, cancellation. In other words, the people getting condemned aren't given a proper means or chance to respond. So, policing the police. You know, there's one activist in here who was saying, oh, you know, things will be just ducky once police are watching what they do and stuff like that. Yeah, it'll be just ducky for murderers, not so ducky for the cops. Now, to be perfectly frank, I worked at the cop shop here in Lethbridge for a couple of years. It was eye-opening. And not in the way I thought it would be. The guys were a whole lot more civilized than I thought they'd be. That's not to say that they were ultimate in civilization, whatever, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would. But we could do with generally a better breed of cop. A little bit more intelligent, much better trained. And you think with cops going down like at the rate of 1 a month in Canada, Lord only knows what it's like in the United States. This just might be a blip, understand? You know, like cops might not be falling at an accelerated rate down there or anything like that. This might be a blip in Canada, and you know, like in the next half a year, maybe no cops will go down. I don't know what long-term trend is, but it's looking pretty suspicious to me.
And if it continues, you think you're going to have cops. I've got a university education, and I knew one cop out at the cop shop who was enthused. He was taking anthropology. He was trying to understand, I think, indigenous people more than the average cop would, and he was very enthused. He was enthused when the police chief, who was what the English call a regular bounder, he died sometime around 2005. It should have been an embarrassment. A heart condition. I didn't even know the guy had much of a heart to have an attack on, but the cop, the police chief, did make the one thing initiative of where he brought in some elders, native elders, and they had a smudge ceremony, and he was trying to introduce the cops to indigenous people who aren't out there doing the homeless thing, doing the violent thing, doing the drunk thing. It's important to do that. And so this one guy, the cop was so enthused, Tim was his first name, presumably still is. He was enthused about that ceremony and all that sort of stuff, that kind of initiative. So you're not going to get folks like that. They'll be fleeing, like you won't have to worry about defunding or abolishing the police. Be a cop, what, and get railroaded if some guy has a lethal dose of fentanyl and I'm kind of trying to restrain him and I get charged with murder? What? Like there's some states in the United States where they'd be facing the death penalty. You think they're, hey, man, that's all for me. You'd only get suicide enrolling, potential suicides enrolling to be a cop. Yeah, topical. We were just covering this yesterday, and it is. I have to say, I didn't emphasize it. This guy, I don't know if it's because of the policy of PBS. He actually talks to a member of, a representative of something like the head of a police union. That's incredible. Like he talks to, I think that's about the only person he talks to. He talked to one guy who is responsible for public safety or something like that, presumably that would include the responsibility for the cops. Where was this? Newark, New Jersey. It's basically, might as well be New York. You're within, people in Newark were reputed to have been cheering. We don't have to say what religion they would have been cheering when the World Trade Center went down. They could see it across the Hudson River. But I'm told that that's apocryphal. But, I'm a little bit suspicious that the denial as apocryphal of such reports is apocryphal itself. But I can't say definitively. There was supposed to be video footage that was from elsewhere, where they're saying the Middle East. How you make the Middle East look like Newark, New Jersey, I don't know. Well, there are some places that are built up in high rises, so on and so forth. But yeah, it's kind of shocking. No, the poor guy, he's an activist. Did he go to university with the mayor, the then mayor, might still be the mayor of New York, Russell J. Baraka. So this guy's name is Cobb. I've forgotten his first name. Is that Jelani?
Yeah.
Jelani Cobb. Yeah, I don't have my glasses, reading glasses. And so Jelani Cobb is, now this is the thing that should be done. So it shows earlier, Jelani Cobb is doing what they call a ride-along. At least here they did here. Presumably they do that in the United States. News reporters can do it, so on and so forth. Ride-along with cops. So he's riding along with him, and he was saying he was bothered particularly by one incident. He could only dredge up one incident. So this is the worst it got. I don't know how long he was out with the cops. But these two cops, they're both Latinos, as I recall. And the majority, I gather the vast majority of cops in Newark are black or African American. you prefer to swing that way, or Latino. Huh? You know, like, and the African American community is complaining about systemic racism. You know, like, it's different from when I was a kid. I wonder what the demographic demographic structure of the cops in Newark was when I was a kid 2 generations ago. I wonder if it was the vast majority African American and Latino. Oh, but it's systemically racist. Okay. Anyway, what happens is these 2 Latinos, they're kind of trying to, it shows them groping the guy's crotches and all this sort of stuff, looking for weapons. They're trying to get weapons off the streets. It's their gang unit. And I'm going, well, you know, like, I wouldn't mind getting my crotch groped. I wouldn't enjoy it. Some people might, but and if that's what they do, that's good. But I wouldn't mind it if I knew weapons were getting taken off the street. I mean, just around the corner here, about
we've seen them just
4 years ago, I had someone pull a knife on me.
Yeah.
And he was a person of color. He's a black guy, okay, African American, whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't mind getting the knives off the street. No? I'm more worried about, you know, the constant shots in here. They'll show a cop with his body cam, and then they'll go down to the gun. Body cam, gun. Well, you know, there are certain standards that they are generally held to. In the southern United States, maybe not so much, but yeah, you know, I'm because of that body cam there, I feel relatively safe with that thing. You know, him packing the heat on the hip there.
Yeah.
But, you know, like this dude that pulled a knife on me, I don't think he was carrying a body cam. Huh? Anyway, they run across this black guy walking down the street. He looks pretty innocuous to me. And they kind of introduce themselves. And they were claiming, and I didn't see it, that he pushed away from them or pulled away from them. I think they said pulled away from them. I didn't really see it, but what he was saying is something I'd never, ever say to a cop. Can you imagine saying to a cop, "Don't touch me, man"?
Yeah.
What? It's kind of a little bit aggressive. "Don't touch me, man." Is that the blue jay?
No, it's a house finch. I'm going to try to get a camera to show.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. We'll have to talk
I'll continue eating.
Yeah. Can you see it? Oh, shoot. Did I scare him? Oh, there he is. He's up in the tree. Can you see him? See?